Okay, here are the ingredients for chocolate chip cookie. I have my butter, room temperature butter in a bowl, granulated sugar, brown sugar. Using the brown sugar, it gives the flavor of the molasses, and also it adds a little bit more chewiness to the cookie. Okay, and my whole eggs is beaten, and this is also at room temperature. My flour, we're using low protein bread flour, and depending on the type of flour that you use, that will change the texture of your cookie as well. In general, higher protein content flour will give a little bit more chewiness to the cookie. Okay, and my leavening is baking soda in this cup, salt, and vanilla extract. I'll start with sifting the flour with the baking soda together. By sifting the flour like this, you can remove the lumps of flour and also distribute the chemical leavening more evenly into the flour. Okay, and next, add the sugar into your butter. Okay, we're going to cream with a paddle attachment. Purpose of creaming is to incorporate air into your cookie dough. And more air there is in the cookie dough, your cookie will spread more during the baking. So be careful not to over cream at this stage. If this mixture becomes too fluffy, then your cookie will spread a lot during the baking, becoming very, very thin. Okay, now at this stage, I can add some eggs. Make sure that the mixture lightens in color like this, and also your eggs are at room temperature. If you were to add cold eggs, then it's going to solidify the butter that's inside and make the mixture lumpy. Okay, I'm going to add about half of the eggs. If any of the ingredients were cold, then you may start to see the fat and the liquid starts to separating. This is well emulsified. This is how it should look like. Okay, make sure to scrape your bowl before adding the next batch of eggs. I'm adding the rest of the eggs. Make sure to scrape often, because the mixer like this, the paddle attachment, it does not reach all the way to the bottom of the bowl. And there can be a layer of butter and sugar mixture that is not getting well incorporated. So make sure to check the bottom. Okay, scrape the bowl and the paddle. I'm going to add my vanilla extract. Okay, next I'm going to add my flour. And mix until about halfway incorporated. Okay, and I'm going to add my inclusions. In this case, it's chocolate chips. And over mixing of the dough will toughen the texture of the cookie. So just until everything is combined, and that's the end of the mixing. I'm going to scoop my dough. And you can refrigerate at this point, or you can even freeze the dough for a longer storage. If you're freezing, let them freeze as is, and you can put them in a Ziploc bag so that way it doesn't take up too much space. Now, before baking, a few things to pay attention is, first of all, the shape of your dough. If you bake like this as it's scooped, then it's going to have a little bit less spread. You can flatten the dough, then it's going to be a little bit more even baking, and it's going to spread a little bit more. Another thing to pay attention to is the temperature of the dough. Right now we just mix the dough, so it is at room temperature, and it will cause more spread during the baking. But if you have a refrigerated dough or frozen dough, then if you were to bake them cold, then it's going to spread less, because it's the dough will start cooking before the dough has a chance to spread fully. Okay, so to pay attention to those things if you want to make a very consistent product. Okay, so you can use a little bit of water on your hand and gently press from the top. Here are the baked cookies. I baked them for about 12 to 14 minutes at 350 degrees. The ones that I flattened before baking obviously spread a little bit more. You want to keep baking until the edges starts to brown, but then the center should be still soft at the end of the baking. The cookies will continue to harden as they cool. You don't want to wait until the center crisps up. Then after the cookie cools, the whole thing becomes too hard to eat. Okay, so this one has a nice crispy texture on the edges, but then the center is nice and chewy.